When I say community fish, what immediately pops into your head? I'm guessing it's probably things like tetras and guppies and mollies that all live harmoniously together in one aquarium, and I gotta admit, that's what pops into my head too. But that is not the definition of a community aquarium. Okay, this is gonna be fun. The definition of community is a social, religious, occupational, or other group sharing common characteristics or interests and perceived or perceiving itself as distinct in some respect from the larger society within which it exists. Now, I gotta admit, that's a little bit over my head, but the gist of it is a group sharing common characteristics or interests, which means in our hobby, all fish are community fish, right? I mean, they're all fish, they all swim in water, they're all from rivers and lakes. Now, we're only talking about freshwater fish, by the way. But in every community, you have some members that don't fit in. It could be because they're antisocial, they could be mean, or they just don't agree with the rest of the group about hierarchy, rules, or territories. So here is our list of the worst aquarium community fish. These are fish that are going to need to either be left alone or only kept with very specific fish. I know there's gonna be fish on this list that some people are not gonna agree with us on. I get it, we all have our favorites, but listen, the rule book isn't always right. Sometimes you can have a fish that everybody says is super mean, but you have one and yours is an angel. But on the flip side, you're also gonna hear stories of fish that everybody says are super nice, but you bought one and it's a little demon. I mean, again, it just goes to show you that the rule book is not always right in this hobby. Speaking of community, yay, John, good job. What a great idea to start off the list with a fish that has a massive community of people that are absolutely obsessed with them. But listen, it's okay, because flowerhorn people know their fish are mean. This is not a surprise to them. Flowerhorns can be looked at as a controversial fish for several reasons. First is they're hybrids, meaning the breeders have combined a couple different fish to get this mutt type fish. Some people don't like that fact, but I say get over it. Next is the fact that they're selectively bred to accentuate the big ball on their head. Now, this is a family-friendly channel, so I won't be saying what flowerhorn people call this ball. But this ball is basically a deformity that flowerhorn people go crazy over. Honestly, I think it's pretty neat, and I really don't care about them being hybrids. I just feel like there's so many more things in this world we could be mad about. I'm not going to waste my time being mad over people mixing fish together to achieve a certain look. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We are here to talk about fish that are mean and don't do well with others. And flowerhorns, I'm sorry, are the perfect example of this. If you look around YouTube, there's one thing that'll be pretty much unanimous across the entire platform. And that's that every flowerhorn video you see will have the fish by themselves in a tank. Usually the tank will literally be just an empty glass box. Well, okay, obviously there's going to be water in the tank, but what I'm saying is you're not going to see any decorations or any other fish or really anything but water and one fish. This is because flowerhorns are super mean fish and they're destructive little things. So it's kind of part of the deal. If you're going to keep flowerhorns, you understand they're going to be in a tank by themselves with no decorations. If you're someone that has a flowerhorn with other fish and you're thinking, hey, mine isn't mean at all, it gets along with everyone. Well, this is a fish that I can honestly say it's just a matter of time. This fish is a ticking time bomb, so just wait. You'll see. I can honestly say that I personally love these fish. I like how unique they are, and I'm a big fan of fish that are interactive and have big personalities. Trust me when I tell you, flowerhorn people will argue to the death that these are some of the biggest water puppies you'll find in the hobby. Just understand that they're going to be in a tank alone. I mean, this is why I don't have one. I just can't see dedicating an entire tank to just one fish. But I can't tell you that I'll never have one, because I definitely do like them, and Lisa likes them too, so there's a good chance that maybe someday when we have more space for more tanks, you might see one on my channel.
Who doesn't love tiger barbs? I mean, these are little fish that are arrowhead shaped with black bars, and they are just super active and they go all over the place, and they really make a statement in a tank. But they have a dark secret, and that's that they like to eat fish's fins. They go, nom, 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 nom. It's true, they're sold in fish stores as quote unquote community fish, and they typically do well with other fish, but they have so much energy that if you don't feed them enough, they're gonna find food in other fish's fins, especially fish that have a lot of dangly fins like angels or lyre-tailed fish. I mean, I wouldn't classify tiger barbs as mean fish. They're not trying to kill other fish, they're just trying to snack on them. Ugh, it sounds so gross. Can you imagine seeing on the news,
Thank you, Lisa. I'm out here on the scene where a man has been reported to be circling around people and nibbling on their fingernails. It has even been reported right here that the man has been in a group where open-toe shoes were prevalent, and he was nibbling on their toenails. He doesn't seem to be a threat, apparently, and, well, he just seems to be bored. I'm Jay Wilson, KGT6 News at 9.
great, now I'm definitely gonna have nightmares. Anyway, tiger barbs are a really cool fish with a lot of energy, and they're definitely gonna provide a lot of activity in your tank. Just be careful what fish you put in with them, because you might find some chunks out of their fins.
Okay, this is the first and really only fish that's going to be on this list, and it's not because they're really mean fish. In fact, I don't think I've ever heard a story about somebody with a really mean clown loach. No, the problem with clown loaches is completely different. They're on here not because of what they are or their personalities, it's because of what they become. Every single one of you has been to the fish store and seen a group of clown loaches in a tank, and you're like, oh, those are so cute. They're like 1 inch or 2 inches, but believe me when I tell you, they ain't gonna be that size for long. Along with Oscars, which we'll be talking about in a little bit, these fish are super cute when they're small, but fish keepers don't realize they get absolutely massive when they're full grown. It might take them a lot longer than Oscars to get that big, but they'll get there, and when they do, you're gonna be in trouble if you have them in a little teeny 10-gallon tank. It's almost like people put them in the same category as Cory catfish. They're cute little bottom-dwelling fish that are gonna patrol the substrate and clean up the messes from all of the other fish. And that's very true, but where Cory cats are gonna max out at about 2 inches or less, clown loaches can get well over 1 foot. Like Cory cats, these fish also like being in groups. So just imagine you set up your 29-gallon tank with a bunch of tetras and barbs and a half dozen clown loaches. It's gonna be fine in the beginning, but what's gonna happen a year from now? You're gonna have a serious problem on your hands. Look, clown loaches are really cool. They're not known for being mean, and they'll be a great addition to any aquarium, but just make sure that aquarium is at least 6 feet long. If you don't have 125 or larger, just don't even think about these.
I'm not gonna lie, I really love me some angelfish. I mean, they are one of the first fish that I fell in love with when I started in this hobby. And they usually do pretty well with other fish, but there is one big exception. Angels are known for being relatively easy to breed. You don't need a huge tank to breed them, and if the parents know what they're doing, you should get quite a bit of fry out of them. But if this is something you let happen in your community tank, watch out. These fish can be downright nasty when they're breeding. They'll go from angels to demons, and they'll do anything they have to just to protect their fry. I mean, if you think about it, this isn't really being mean. If you were walking through the woods and came across a bear with her cubs, what's gonna happen? Well, if you get too close, the mama bear is gonna consider you a threat to her cubs, and she'll attack you to eliminate the threat. Is that the bear being mean? No, that's her protecting her cubs. She's being a good parent. Well, that's exactly what angelfish will do. Let me rephrase that. That's exactly what egg-laying fish will do. If you keep egg layers and they spawn, the parents are going to instinctually protect those eggs from the other fish. And what sucks is fish eggs are like delicacy to the other fish. So they're gonna try to eat the eggs while the parents try to protect them, and all you know what breaks loose. The more I think about it, it's kind of unfair to label angelfish as mean. They're just being protective, but no matter what you decide to label them, you have to be careful when they're breeding, because all drama is gonna break loose in that tank.
When you see a convict cichlid, you're probably like, oh, I get it, it makes sense. They've got those beautiful black bars that looks like a jail cell. They named them convicts because of that. I think it's pretty safe to say that that is where they get their name, but trust me when I tell you they also earn that name when we talk about their attitude. These fish are little monsters, and just like angels, that gets way worse when they start breeding. And believe me when I tell you, if you have these fish and you have males and females, they will breed. These fish are as easy to breed as watering plants. I'm serious, to get a plant to grow, you've got to water it and feed it, and it'll get bigger and spread out. Well, to get convicts to breed, all you have to do is put them in water and feed them. It's the same thing. Just like angels, convicts will fiercely defend their eggs and fry. But unlike angels, convicts are pretty much mean all the time. I know, not all of them, but trust me, most of them. They're mean because they want to breed. I mean, they're just like men. Men try to impress the girls and they try to eliminate all of the competition so that they can have the females all to themselves and do what they want to do. And what do you think's going to happen when they do breed and produce this huge army of nasty little fish? Listen, I know there's going to be people that want to argue fish on this list. Believe me, I know, because the next fish that I talk about on this list, I'm going to be right there with you arguing about them. I just think it's pretty much unanimous. Everybody knows convicts are mean. So just deal with it.
Jewel cichlids are one of the most disappointing fish to have on this list because they're one of the most gorgeous fish. I mean, who doesn't love a bright red fish with blue and white dots? They're amazing. But just like convicts, these fish can get downright nasty whether they're breeding or not. They're extremely territorial and want to establish a space to call their own and also use it for spawning. Whenever another fish comes near that space, they're gonna lash out. Basically, everything John just said about convicts applies to jewels too. But there's another issue with these fish that has to be mentioned. There's a lot of confusion about these fish because people don't know where to put them. They look like South American fish, but the tag at the fish store says they're African cichlids. So who do they go with? Well, the truth is jewels are African. And they are cichlids. They're just not the African cichlids you're used to seeing. Most people associate African cichlids with peacocks, haps, and MBUNAS, or shell dwellers and other Tanganyikan fish. Well, jewels aren't either of those. Yes, jewel cichlids originate from the continent of Africa, but they're very different from the other African cichlids because they're not from the three rift lakes. They're from creeks and streams and have very different water requirements. Jewel cichlids are actually super easy to keep because they adapt really well with different water parameters. So they're great for new fish keepers, but just be aware that they can mix with almost any cichlids. You just can't expect them to be nice about it. If you get some that get along with all the other fish that you have, then you've hit the jackpot. But more than likely, they're gonna be mean. So just be prepared.
Okay, I'd like it to be known that I am personally offended that Oscars are on this list. I'm tired of seeing them on these lists. But no, it's not fair. Seriously, I think every single list we've ever done has had Oscars on it. No, you know what? All right, listen, here's the scenario, okay? You're setting up your first aquarium. You don't really know what fish can go with what. You go to the store and you get two little googly-eyed Oscars that are about this big. You pay like $8 for them and you don't want them to be alone in the tank. So you buy a bunch of little tetras and stuff like that to go with them and you put them all in your little 75-gallon aquarium. What do you think's gonna happen? Well, I'll tell you exactly what's gonna happen. A year later, those Oscars are gonna be about a foot long and your tetras are gonna be about 2 inches. As soon as those Oscars go a day without being fed, what's going to happen? Yep, you guessed it. The tetras are going to become dinner. Does that make Oscars mean? No, it makes the fish keeper mean for putting little teeny fish in with fish that become giants and not feeding them enough. Okay, I know that story sounds ridiculous, but believe me, it's true. I used to work a job going to a bunch of people's homes every day, and you have no idea how many times I'd see baby Oscars with baby tetras, mollies, platies, you name it. I saw it. These people had no clue that in a year or less, that tank is going to become a bloodbath. And then they're going to say, oh, those Oscars are nasty. It's just not fair. But okay, let's be serious for a second. Everything that I just told you is absolutely true. But it's also true that you can have Oscars that are super sweet and then one day they become not so sweet. I mean, they're cichlids. You never know what to expect. If you're a crazy person like me and you love Oscars, I encourage you to get them. But just understand you can face some challenges with them, even if you make sure the tank mates are big enough. I mean, my 2 Oscars killed a 15-inch long arowana. It was devastating, but I didn't give up on it. Since that happened, I've added a 3rd Oscar, and a couple of months later, 2 15-inch bikers, and guess what? The 2 mean Oscars could care less. All the fish swim around together like one big happy family. I guess you never really know. I mean, just be careful with these fish. And please, don't be mean to them.
So because Oscars are on the list, I'm being punished and I have to talk about how mean MBUNAS are?
Hey, what goes around comes around.
Whatever. In all seriousness, I gotta admit, MBUNAS can be downright nasty if they're not put in the right situation. This is a very similar situation to some other fish in this list, in that people buy a few MBUNAS as part of a group of fish they just randomly picked out at the pet store. And in the beginning, everything goes okay, but after a little time passes, things change. Being African cichlids, MBUNAS are naturally going to be territorial and will want to establish a hierarchy in the tank. This might go smoothly and everyone falls in line, or not. The best advice I can give is if you want to keep MBUNAS, keep them in an MBUNA specific tank. Don't mix them with tetras or any of those other fish you're going to find at the pet store. Keep them with MBUNAS only. Even then, you're still going to have challenges because they can still be jerks. Welcome to the world of African cichlids, I guess.
So there you go. I hope you understand that Lisa and I love all of the fish on this list. But you know, sometimes you just have to stand up and say, hey, these fish can be jerks sometimes, and it's better to let you know now before you learn that the hard way. I hope that we were able to be clear in that there's not a fish on this list that we haven't kept at one time or another, and some of them get labeled as mean, and I don't think they should be. But anyway, if you want to see some playlists of some videos that we've done about these fish that we talked about on the list that are a little bit more detailed and specific, I'll put a couple of them right here that you can watch. Check those out and learn even more about these fish. Thank you so much for watching. This was a whole lot of fun to do, and I look forward to doing another one sometime soon. And until then, bye.